Welcome back, everyone. Here is our next killer snippet from the Regenerative Business Masterclass. And here we're looking at practical practices for actually unblocking and removing the limits and the obstacles you have around your creativity. So, what you can actually do on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, as continued practices throughout your life, so that you have this overflow of creativity. And we are always coming back to how are we 10xing your faucet of creativity so that you're essentially being a channel for your business and being a channel for creativity, because that is the most aligned way that you can be living within nature, which is such a beautiful source of creative life force. And when we are actually in tune with nature, we are also this beautiful cyclical flow of creative life force. So this is going to be a semi-longer section of the masterclass, but I know you're going to get so much out of it. So get out your notebook and let's dive in.
Can you tell us about your journey? Because you haven't always been creatively prolific, have you?
No, what I had was many, many years when I was stuck in non-regenerative death is not how I thought of it back then, which is how I know it now, which is that I think all of us have an endless spring of creative impulses. And for the longest time in my life, I would just keep suppressing them.
Mm.
And I did not allow them to, I was too afraid of other people's judgment. I was too afraid of not doing a perfect job. I was I was I was scared to do any of it. And so a lot of it died like in utero, so to speak, right? A lot of it died before they could see the light of day, because I would just keep squashing, killing ideas that were springing forth inside of me, because I just kept judging them as not good enough, not good enough. What if I follow this idea and then this happens or that happens? Someone doesn't like it or I don't like it. And then I will feel worthless and then I will feel terrible and I will want to go hide in a hole forever. So that was a cycle of non-regenerative death. And I think, and I am very careful to not tell this narrative in a way where it's like, and then I did this and everything changed. Because I think that is a lie. It's never ever like that. But it was an organic process that took a number of years where I chose intentional death. And here's practically what that meant, which is that I chose the death of certain relationships that I was keeping in my life because those relationships enable me to keep hiding in who I am, right? So the relationships that were invested in who I had been and were suspicious of who I wanted to become or disapproved of who I wanted to become, I had to allow to die the self-concept of myself, like the version of me who always needed to be good and perfect and get everything right. And I killed off that identity so that I could give birth to a new identity of somebody who does things messy and does things scared and is still worthy and lovable and is worthy of affirmation. um I had to, I had a certain vision of how life would go if I just kept following the rules, if I could just kept doing it right, where the possibilities weren't defined by what my heart wanted, but what was possible within the confines of the structures and templates that society gave me. And I was holding on to that for dear life for many years. And then I had to let my attachment to those die and kind of step into a terrifying uncertainty of not even knowing what the alternatives are and be able to follow my heart one step at a time, super messy, super vulnerable, many, many tears, and step by step in that process, allowing specific things to die on purpose and allowing myself to keep um, leaning into new cycles. New cycles is how I ended up where I am today. Right. So, yeah. Oh, you're muted.
Where were you in your business process when you feel like you made the biggest strides in this?
What do you mean?
Like,
What does
it
that
was
mean?
it way before you started your business that you worked through most of your
Yeah,
um
so I think I know what you're asking. So the reason that I feel so passionately about teaching and coaching on business is because business was my healing. Business was the spiritual development. It was my curriculum, right? The business was my school in a way for um leaning into the process. It's where I got to practice it, right? Because like each day that you decide to show up with what you have because you believe that your creation is valuable inherently because you are valuable inherently and what comes out of your brain is automatically also valuable. Like each day you practice believing that and putting that into action, like your neural pathways change, your relationship with yourself and your creativity changes, and that subtly starts to shift the relationships around you. And when you stay on that path and you keep leaning into that work, that builds over time. And that's how you create a quote unquote audience, right? That's how you create a body of work, right? And that's what is required. It's a process, which is why I really leaned away from, um, sort of prescribing, like, here's what to do, 1, 2, 3, right? 3-step, this and that, because it is the work that's required is always like a little bit of courage at a time, a little bit of expanding our nervous system capacity at a time, one decision at a time that progressively builds strong muscle. And so that has always felt like such a sacred process to me. So when I invite people to grow their businesses and to change their businesses so that it becomes more sustainable and congruent, what I'm inviting them into is this like process of spiritual growth, in which we come home to the cycles of creative life that wants to happen through us and with us.
mhm. um Something I was thinking about in preparation for this call was the when you and I were first talking about what we were going to talk about today, and like the turning on the faucet of 10x creativity was like this line that we liked, and coming back to that, I think it's such a beautiful one because later on in this call we're going to talk about what happens when you have this 10x creativity flowing out of your faucet. There's suddenly too much to actually take part on, and you have to start like killing creations. We'll talk about that a little later, but this is where we need to unblock the faucet first, because what you were just talking about of like when things are stuck inside of you and they can't actually come out, that's different. Killing it before it comes out of you is a different thing than killing it after it comes out of you, because that's like unblocked faucet versus like, I'm going to choose what fills my cup out of this faucet.
And also blocking out of fear versus blocking out of creative intention.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can kill your programs, your ideas, relationships, right? Because you're running away from something or you're avoiding something and you don't want to face something, or you can do it from a place of being like, I know what this is making space for, and even though it's hard, I'm going to lean into it. So I think that's a really important difference.
And there's a lot of flowering plants. There's this one flowering vine we use a lot at the farm called a purple pea blossom, and it's used in a lot of Thai food to make that like purple rice, or you see it in like fancy cocktail bars now to make the purple drinks or the blue drinks. And if as you keep pulling the blossoms, you actually want to pick them every single day, because when you pick them, it creates more. And if you don't pick them, it creates less. And I was like, I think that's why the garbage post challenge works so well. It's like, it's teaching you to pick the purple pea blossom so that more and more actually pop out. And
Yep.
you can
The
choose
more
whether or
you,
not you want to use them after you pick them, right?
yeah, totally. The more you take action on your ideas, the more you trust that your ideas are worthy. And no matter what the outcome is, the more ideas you'll literally make space to download, right?
Mhm.
So that's one of the reasons I say you find your voice by using your voice. When you use your voice, you will feel yourself filling up with more of your authentic voice. And that's why I say, instead of trying to get that one post right, instead of trying to get this one perfect offer or whatever right, aim instead to build a body of work. Because when your aim is to build a body of work, that keeps the creative pipes flowing, right? Because you're not creating to get an A, you're not creating to, have everyone love it for perfect marks, right? You're creating because it's what you do, it's what we do as humans, is to create. And the more we do that, the more we unleash our creativity, our potential to create all the good things that we want in life.
We've already gone a little bit down this road of like unblocking your faucet or going through regenerative death to restore life includes processing trauma and unshaming. And do you want to tap in here a little bit, Simone, to talk about how unshaming played a role in your regenerative death process?
Oh yeah. Oh geez, waited.
Put you on
Like,
the spot.
yeah, with this giant complex question. But okay, let me do my best with this, right? Because here's what we mean by unshaming. We live in a world that is standardized and that sort of traps us in these binaries of good and bad and like perfect and everything that's imperfect, which is like unworthy, right? And we have been made to understand ourselves in this way, in these ways too. So, oh, this part of me is good, but the other part of me is bad. So, for example, this is something that a lot of helpers, practitioners, um, I think wrestle with in their minds is, okay, the part of me that wants to help other people and be of service, that's the good part. The part of me that wants a lot of attention and power and wants to just, um, shine and, all that part of me is bad. It's selfish, right? And so much of how we understand ourselves is filtered through these good, bad kind of sort of Christian binaries.
Mhm.
And so unshaming and a lot of this language and actually not a lot of it, like all of it pretty much I learned from my teacher and David Bedrick. And if you're here, you might have heard of him, you might have taken a class with me and him, or it might be your first time hearing that name. And if it is, I highly encourage you to go check out his work on shame. It is paradigm shifting. It has changed so many lives in my world and mine to begin with.
And
And what
you'll
it
see more people using the term unshaming, but he's the guy who literally made up the term.
Yeah. And so what it is okay, so let's say a part of me just like wants lots of money and power. And I don't care what happens to other people. And like a lot of us, like we're even scared to look at that part of ourselves who's like, can I just like be rich and like do whatever I want and like everyone else be damned, right? Let's say there's a part of you that feels that way. And of course it's competing with all these other parts of you who are like, well, you can't just do that. You have to do that. Right. But then let's look at that impulse of like, I want all the things, I want all the money, I want all the power. And then if we take that out of the frame of good and bad and look at, and here's the beautiful language David uses, what is the bud of creativity that lives there? The part of you that wants, if that's not bad, if the part of you that wants to shine and have lots of money, if that part of you has something really essential to say that is a really important part of who you are, an important part of your medicine even, right? What is that saying before we slapped all of this, oh, that's greedy and selfish, like all these moral judgments on it, right? And then you begin to notice, oh, maybe it's that part of me that is really connected and that feels joy at the idea of abundance. And that's the part of me that wants to feel safe. And oh, so that's what it's really about, right? Because I know that this abundance is healing. Abundance is our birthright. There's a part of me that's really connected to that. Oh, so it's actually not about an amount of money, it's that, oh, I see. And then, so that's just one example, right? But then you do this with every aspect of yourself that you automatically judge and cast aside as something that you need to fix or heal or get better at. Then you begin to notice your true nature outside of the good bad binary. And then from that place, oh my gosh, you guys, you have no idea how much creative power this frees up. Because I don't know if you're anything like me, for most of my life, I spent 90% of my creative life force judging and shaming and silencing myself. Right? Just like living in this cage of self-judgment and shame. And once those prison bars are removed and I understand myself for all of my organic human, animal, spiritual impulses, then, oh my gosh, I can use that 90% of my energy to create and to relate and to make art with instead, right? So I think that's how unshaming plays into non-regenerative death.
Yeah, I mean, you can hear in just how you're saying that shame is this powerful tool that society uses to keep you stuck in this box and playing your role on the assembly line of non-regenerative death. Like it's trying to keep you in a role. A lot of us, our only creative outlet is our business, which is fine, but it can create this sneaky dynamic between you and money and your business and creativity, where creativity in and of itself needs to be this unbounded energy within you for it to fully flow, where it doesn't matter whether or not it makes money, because you can't. And this is where like time comes in too. So like you going to dance class, or you painting a mural on the wall of your house, or you going to a speaker's class or something like that.
Or going grocery shopping, buying some spices and vegetables, and making dinner, right?
Yeah.
If you like that kind of thing.
Or making up stories for your kid and like telling amazing fun stories for your kid or your friend. But if we just have creativity in connection with our work, then we're always going to be changed to our work, because joy and fun and playfulness will only be associated with work.
It's like liberate your creativity from commodification, right?
Yes. Liberate it. But with this activation element, so processing has a lot to do with like the unblocking of that faucet. And then activation is actually understanding and reconnecting with the water that is flowing through the faucet. Because if you can reconnect with the water that is flowing through the faucet, the flow can be much stronger. So you actually being able to feel your body and your emotions does that. You actually knowing and allowing yourself to desire and unshaming what you do desire does that.
Okay, so I know that you enjoyed that. And that was a small little snippet from the Regenerative Business Masterclass. I'll be back next week with another highlight from the entire 2-hour presentation and training. And we actually do a regenerative death ceremony and ritual, live group ritual within that. So if you want access to that, you can go to thedirtyalchemy.com/masterclass and for free access and instant access to that entire training and ritual. So go on and do that, and I'll see you soon.